What's up, guys? It's Jeremy with Truth Media 605, the podcast designed to free your minds from the grips of the prostitute, whore, mainstream media by giving you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the uncensored truth. Prostitute, whorebag, evil shit clown media. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to get too dark there, but it's the truth, man. The mainstream media is horrible. 100% can't trust them, can't believe a thing they say. Before I get started, I just want to remind you once again to please go down below, follow, share, like, subscribe, do whatever it is, leave a comment. Tell me whatever you want, but just be honest. That's all I ask. Your input is going to help this show improve. It takes 2 seconds to go right down there right now and just say something. Whatever you want to say. All right, I hope you enjoy this episode. I did want to start this episode off by just going over some headlines, letting you guys know about some of the things that are going on in the world, because that stuff is important. It really is, and I think they're ramping up for something crazy to happen here pretty soon. For starters, looks like there was a train going from Cheyenne to, I believe, California, and one of the carts was carrying 30 tons of ammonium nitrate. Well, that just went missing. The whole thing, completely empty. I'm not sure how they did it or how they had time to do it. Think about how hard it would be to empty that out without anyone knowing. Think about how long it would take to empty it out and to get away without anyone knowing. Definitely a false flag, probably carried out by our own government, but regardless, 30 tons of ammonium nitrate now missing. It's the same shit that they used for the Oklahoma City bombing. Now, have it in the hands of some deep state terrorist working for our government. So expect some sort of false flag bombings to happen here soon. I hope not, but that's usually what happens. Shortly after that, I think this was just on Monday, a man was driving a U-Haul truck and was smashing into these barricades at the White House. Did it multiple times. Finally, Secret Service showed up, pulled the guy out of the vehicle, and then conveniently laid a Nazi flag on the sidewalk for a perfect photo opportunity for the media. Apparently, this guy's a white supremacist, had a Nazi flag with him, just carrying it around with him, because that's what you do when you're going around, driving around in a U-Haul truck. You carry a white supremacist Nazi, and I say white supremacist Nazi flag because that's what they called it. Their words don't mean anything anymore. They're blurring all the words and making them all mean the same thing. So the guy had a Nazi flag with him, so therefore he's a white supremacist, white nationalist, a racist. Those are all the same thing now. They're not different things. These are all the same thing. Pretty soon they're just going to say conservative. He was a Republican, conservative, Trump supporter. They're all the same thing. They're all racist, white nationalists, white supremacist Nazis. That's why they're doing this with these words. That's why they're wording things a certain way, is to confuse us and to get us to believe that they're all just one thing. Not only that, here's the funny, silly thing about this, because this was, again, another false flag attack. This was carried out by some sort of deep state operative. I don't know who, but the guy's name, Varsheeth Kandula. Not kidding, man. He's either Middle Eastern or Indian. I'm not sure which one. Definitely not white. Yet they're still calling him a white supremacist. Now they're saying, well, you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist. The reason they're saying that is because not all Trump supporters are white. Some of them are black. Some of them are native. Some of them are Indian. Some of them are Middle Eastern. Not very many, but some. So now, anyone can be a white supremacist. Just as long as you're a Trump supporter. See, they're trying to confuse you. They're fucking with you guys. Another false flag. Keep your eyes open because this shit is wild. They're doing this stuff intentionally. I believe they're ramping up for something big, like I said. We also had an explosion at the Pentagon. Now, that whole thing is pretty sketchy. The photo itself is proven to be AI fake, I believe. I don't know much about it. I haven't really looked into it a whole lot. But that whole story itself, false flag set up by the government, fake AI bullshit. And this was just a couple days ago. Now all of a sudden, they issued emergency satellite phones to all 100 senators. Now only 50 of them took them. I bet you can probably guess which 50. Half of them, probably all the Democrats. My guess, they were the only ones that were issued these emergency satellite phones. I don't know what it means. They're saying, it doesn't mean anything. People are looking into it like it's some sort of a conspiracy or a cover-up or something. And truth is, we've always cared about the safety of our senators and those in government and in Congress. And it's like, I'm sure you have. But why now? What's this for? I think we should be prepared for something. Maybe nothing happens at all. I don't know. But I do think it's fishy. All this stuff happening at the same time. I believe they're ramping up for some sort of big false flag attack. Do not fall for it. But something big, I believe, is going to be happening here pretty soon. What else do we got, man? Target. Target is evil, evil, evil. If I were you, I would stop shopping at Target immediately. They've bought into this woke mob, transgender, freak shit. Now they are promoting this transgender pride woke shit on our children at a very early age. They've got books, they've got a clothing line now. So and you know what? Go to your own Target. Go check this out. Go to your own Target and check this out. They've got bikinis for girls that compresses their breasts so that it doesn't look like they have breasts. Like it hides them for them. They've got swimming shorts for boys, but it allows them to tuck their thingy away. You know, their penis. It allows them to hide their penis. And we're talking tiny clothes. This is toddler shit, dude. There's a book there in the toddler section talking about trans and proud. Something, I can't, whatever. I rolled my eyes. I didn't even want to look into it because it is psychotic shit. Drives me crazy. I think the place should be shut down immediately and it should be investigated for child porn, child endangerment, whatever. This should not be happening. And if you think it's okay, you're crazy. You are a freaking psycho. Freak. Absolutely. This is not okay. So goodbye, Target. I will never shop there again. I know I'm just one person, but I hope this spreads. I know there's a lot of people who will stop shopping, but again, I say this all the time. It doesn't matter to them. They're getting paid to do this. It's literally like Lil Nas X, the hip-hop artist. This dude just wanted to be famous and would do anything he could. Same thing with Lil Uzi Vert. Both of them. Nobodies. They would do anything to be famous. They would do anything to make $1 million, and so they sold their soul. Lil Uzi Vert is a Satan-worshipping artist. Has nothing to do with hip-hop anymore. Nothing to do with anything but Satanistic music. Talking about worshipping the devil, and that's it, dude. Sold his soul to make a buck. Same thing with Lil Nas X. This dude sold his soul so he could make millions. Became a gay, satanic fool. Target's doing the same thing. They don't care. They're getting paid to do it. They're selling their soul to put this stuff in front of us to make us think that it's okay. It's not okay, man. Not at all. Anyways, I think that's all I got for headlines. I don't want to talk about the news anymore because again, this is what they do. This is what the mainstream media was designed to do. Exactly what it has done to me. One of two things. Terrify you or make you angry. I can't go into it anymore. Done with the news for the day, guys. Let's get into this episode. I've been doing my best to not use profanity in my videos. I've tried my absolute best to be well-spoken, not use any language that could discredit anything that I'm trying to say in any way at all. Problem is, we're at war, and the people that we are at war against do not give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about what you think of me or them or anybody for that matter. What I can tell you is that I'm coming from a place of reality. I'm coming from a place of common sense and also desperation because we are living in desperate times, man. America is under attack. Every single one of us are under attack. I don't give a damn if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. You know without a doubt that the world was better off when Trump was president. You have to. We are much worse off now than we were 2 years ago. We're paying more to eat. We're paying more to drink, sleep. We're paying more to drive. We're paying more to just breathe. We're paying more to live. And we're getting paid the same, and in some instances, we're getting paid less than we did when Trump was president. Every aspect of our life is more expensive, and that's just a fact, man. How did we get there, though? How did we get to where we are right now? What's the difference between where we were 2 years ago and where we are right now? Obviously, it's the people who are in power. Or I guess it's the people who seem like they're in power. Because again, it's not really Biden. There's people behind the curtains that are running the show. And if you can't figure that out, then you are intentionally creating an alternative reality to make yourself feel better about supporting such a horrible piece of shit like Biden and the freaking woke joke Democratic Party. The party of destruction, the party of racism, the party of hatred, the party that will do anything they can to get you to hate straight white Christian males. I call them anti-heterolites. They hate heterosexual light skins like myself. Problem is, this can't be fixed like it may have been in the past. We can't just vote our way out of this problem. Truth is, same people who've destroyed this country are the ones who hijacked our electoral system. Voting is pointless. It's 100% manipulated. It's fraudulent. It's rigged. 2020 was a perfect example of that. 2022, great example of what I'm talking about here. That used to be a conspiracy theory, but it's completely obvious that something happened during the election. Problem is, they're making it almost illegal to bring up anything about the election being rigged, fraudulent election, anything like that. You can't talk about it. It's on par with being a white supremacist or a Nazi white nationalist. They've made it so taboo to bring up anything about the election that people are terrified to even talk about it. They did the same thing with Flat Earth, man. People are scared to talk about Flat Earth because you'll be called every name in the book. It's stupid, man. Having an open conversation with people just doesn't happen like it used to. You used to be able to just go to a coffee shop and talk politics with your friend, and you can't do that anymore because people get so angry they will physically fight each other. And that's created intentionally. The mainstream media did this. Our politicians have done this to us. They've created this chaos intentionally because they need us at each other's throats. They want us fighting with each other because they know they're better off if we're not getting along. Bullshit, man. I'm done being this well-spoken person because I don't want to lose credibility because I'm swearing too much. You know what? I'm so fucking angry that it doesn't matter, dude. I sit back and I see this crap that's going on. I get so mad. It's just, what's the point, really? I don't know, man. It's not hopeless, I guess. I'm not trying to just start talking doom and gloom. It's not like that. No, I'm here to have a normal episode. I wanted to talk about some things that are extremely important because we've had some new information come to light that sheds light on what happened on January 6th. What happened during the 2020 election? What happened during the 2022 election? There's more information out that tells the full story here. And I'm going to try and go through this stuff the best I can. Realistically, it's probably going to get me kicked off of every social media platform again. I was kicked off of Facebook for 30 days, the night of the election, because I saw some fishy shit happening and I decided I was going to talk about it. Same thing's probably going to happen when I release this episode, but you know what? It has to be done. You guys deserve to know the truth. This is going to be a very good episode because I now see what happened and why they did the things that they did on January 6th. And it's not some weird Viking bearded man that broke into the Capitol building. That's the image you keep seeing on January 6th, but that's not what happened. Something completely different happened. It was way more intricate, way more sophisticated than that. That's what I'm going to talk about today is the true events that took place on January 6th. Who was responsible and why they did it. So recently we had the release of this Durham report and then also these FBI whistleblowers that came out. And this has actually given us way more information to look at, and it tells a much better story about the events that have taken place over the last couple of years. Everything that the mainstream media has told you about January 6th, completely false. This was a premeditated deep state attack carried out by the FBI, CIA, Democrats, even some Republicans in the House, to solidify the election they stole just a few months beforehand. It was a classic shadow government coup d'etat. Is that how they say it? Coup d'etat. Coup d'etat. It was designed to basically take Trump out, take out a sitting president. See, it wasn't until right now, till I realized how badly the deep state is trying to take out Donald Trump that I realized he might actually be the good guy. See, I've always told you exactly how I feel and what my beliefs are. I've also stated on several occasions that I do not like Trump. I've always disliked Trump as a president, as a person, whatever. I do think that America was way better off when he was president. That is the truth. But I had always believed, something's wrong with him. Just bugs me. And he bugs a lot of other people as well. I'm sure of that. But it wasn't until I realized how badly the deep state has been trying to take this guy out that I realized, you know what? Maybe he is the best person for the job. Maybe he is exactly what we need. That's why they want him gone. Same thing happened to Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy. These guys were taken out by the deep state because they were anti-New World Order. They were anti-deep state. They were anti-CIA. They knew that there was something corrupt going on in our government, and they were trying to bring that shit down. And so they got taken out. That's what they do. That's what the deep state does. If anybody threatens their New World Order agenda, they'll take him out one way or another. And that's what they're doing with Trump. They're doing whatever they can to get him out of office, now they're trying to get him arrested, trying to get him thrown in prison or whatever the hell it is. All of that shit is just, why is it that Trump never faced all these legal issues at all until all of a sudden he becomes president, and now every other day something new comes out? It's because they're doing everything they can to crush this man. See, in 2016, I was a Democrat. I believed Hillary Clinton, although a horrible person, was the best person to be president. Just like everyone else, she was the lesser of two evils, pretty much. What kind of shit country do we live in to where we have to be like, you know what, I want the less evil person to be president? Man, we had so many horrible options that we picked the one we believed was the least worst, if that even makes any sense. But my point is, we're running out of options here, people, because politicians are shit. We need to clean the slate and start fresh, man. That's the only fix, in my opinion. But regardless, world's run by a bunch of evil satanic monsters, globalist, deep state, shadow government, all these fools. They used to be thought of as a conspiracy theory, but these people are real. This deep state is a real organization trying to take out anybody who threatens them. Every president that we've had has been installed somehow or been manipulated somehow by the deep state. And their goal is to get them to pursue their globalist agenda, to pay back with political deeds. The lobbyists, Big Pharma, all these different organizations, they pay millions in order to make billions. That's their goal. I mean, it's just these evil elite fools are the ones running our country. It's not the people that we elect. These billionaires put their selected puppet in office and then use them to increase their ridiculous wealth. And again, there's been times where an enemy of the deep state slips through the cracks, but they take him out, man. And I think that's what's happened with Trump. I think that's why they're doing everything they can to try and get rid of this guy. My point is, it wasn't until recently that I realized Donald Trump was probably a good guy. He's probably what we call a white hat, here fighting for us instead of the deep state, even though he is an elite himself. But anyways, been rambling on enough. Let's get into what I think happened here. And to be honest, if this hadn't destroyed our country, I might actually give them props, man. This was very well thought out. It takes deep knowledge of how the Congress works in order for them to be able to pull some shit off like this. This was insane. Very intricate, man. They have recently released the John Durham report, which they discovered that the FBI had no basis whatsoever to open up the investigation into Trump regarding colluding with Russia during the election or whatever. They claimed that Trump was working with the Russians, but we found out now with this new report that the FBI had no evidence whatsoever to give them a reason to even open up this investigation. They just did it. It concluded that the FBI had what's called confirmation bias, and they were working at the behest of basically the Clinton campaign. The Clintons basically ordered them to open up this investigation into Trump, so they did it. They created this conspiracy theory from the ground up to go after a political opponent. Absolutely against the law. How crazy is that, man? Weaponizing our own Justice Department so that they can take out a political opponent. That's some crazy communist North Korea Hitler bullshit, man. Thank you, Hitler. You trained our Democratic Party well. They created this coup, this hoax, this witch hunt to try and take him out way back in 2016. And remember, that used to just be a crazy Trump conspiracy theory that the FBI is out to get me. Turns out it's 100% true. And they had no reason to do it whatsoever other than the fact that Hillary Clinton wanted them to. The FBI even admitted, when addressed during this Durham report, the FBI said the actions that took place during 2016 or 2017 is the reason why we have new leadership and new guidelines today. Really? So this new leadership, these new guidelines, they're allowing you to place undercover provocateurs in the crowds of a Trump rally in order to try and create chaos. That's what you did. That's what they've done since. And we're going to get into that. The FBI is still operating as a private law enforcement to the woke leftist mob. Let's take a look at the 2020 election, okay? There were a number of issues surrounding this election. Election night was a mess. In all the battleground states, swing states, they like to call it whatever, there was a ton of issues. From the minute it started until they had to prematurely shut everything down because of the quote-unquote problems or the mail-in ballots, whatever the hell was going on. But there was a ton of issues. And everybody knows that. It's not a mystery. But how ironic is it that we had so much shit happening on the same exact night in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, probably many other states as well, but these are basically the most important. These are the battleground states, the ones that it takes to win an election. And we had a ton of fraudulent shit going on. If you've ever seen 2,000 Mules, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. We have video evidence of mules dropping off ballot after ballot after ballot at these drop boxes in the wee early morning hours. And they've got gloves on and masks on, and they're dropping off a ton of ballots. Just one person, hundreds, if not thousands of ballots. And they did this multiple drop boxes, and it looks like they had like these, they mapped it out following their cell phone coverage. They had like safe houses, each one of them did. It was a well thought out operation the night of the election, going to these ballot boxes, dropping off these quote unquote mail-in ballots by the thousands, the same people. They have video footage that this took place, so we know it happened. We have video footage of people pulling suitcases out from under tables after the ballot places stopped counting, after they shut down for the night, pulling suitcases out when everybody left and running these ballots through one right after another. Ballots that were never folded, never mailed in, never whatever. Thousands upon thousands of them just counting continuously. And then, of course, we've just got the numbers, They do not add up. Donald Trump had a record amount of votes. Like, Donald Trump killed it last election in 2016. And then he got, like, millions upon millions of more votes than he did in 2016, but still lost. That's impossible, man. All you could ask for is to have the same outcome you did the election before. Yet he had millions upon millions upon millions of more votes. He actually did way, way better and still lost? No way. There's so many red flags in different instances or scandalous shit that was going on. It was definitely not the most secure election in history. There was more evidence of fraud and rigging in this election than probably any other election ever. But the media just tells you it's the most secure election to ever happen, and you just believe it because we just believe everything that the mainstream media says. We're supposed to we think that no matter what they say, it's just coming from a place of truth and on. No, it's not. They lie. They've been lying to us from the very beginning. The mainstream media is a tool. It's a weapon from the by the deep state to confuse us, to make us angry, to make us sad, to terrify us. It is a weapon. It is not a source of information. It is intentionally put in place to do what it's doing, to confuse us. That's their job. Their payoff is getting us terrified, getting us angry with each other. So when they go extremely woke like this and people stop watching them, it doesn't hurt them because they're paid by the deep state. They're paid by these politicians. They're getting paid off. Ratings don't mean anything, man. Big Pharma, Pfizer, pays CNN billions of dollars just to exist. And I know you're probably thinking like, well, why didn't they prove that there was election fraud? Why didn't they prove that this stuff happened? Well, because they couldn't, and I'm going to get into that. This plan was extremely intricate. They did exactly what they needed to do to stop people from being able to take the legal steps to prove this. And that's where January 6th comes into play. Our FBI and our government had advanced knowledge of the events that took place on January 6th. Why didn't the FBI do anything to stop this from happening? Why didn't they do anything to help the Capitol Police and to address their concerns that something may happen on January 6th? Why didn't they send National Guard to the Capitol like Trump asked? Trump was president at the time. He felt that there could be something that happened, so he tried to address the issue before it ever happened, before it ever got out of hand. He wanted to get National Guard troops to the Capitol, but Nancy Pelosi said no. Everyone knew that there was potential for something to get out of hand, so they wanted to avoid that at all costs. Trump had a rally that same day. He wanted to do what he could to keep people safe because that's what he wanted to do. So why did they stop him from doing that? Why did they erase his tweets that day when he asked people to remain peaceful? He was asking people to respect the law enforcement, and they deleted his tweets. Why? Everyone knew something was going to happen, but they did absolutely nothing whatsoever. They did nothing to prepare. Well, that's not exactly true. They did do something. They actually dressed up as agents and insurrectionists and infiltrated the crowd to help create a disturbance, to help create chaos. And it worked. Again, this was once a conspiracy theory. Now we know it as fact. There were FBI agents in the crowd at the Trump rally and at the Capitol. Why? Why were they there? And why is it that when you watch the video evidence, they were some of the most intense people there? They were causing the most destruction. They were riling people up, getting them angry. You'd think that if the FBI was going to infiltrate this crowd, it would be just to kind of observe what was going on, to investigate, to try and keep people calm. No, they were the most active. They were the one trying to talk people into going to the Capitol after the rally. They wanted to get people to the Capitol. It was almost like they were herding cattle. They wanted to make sure they guide them to the Capitol. Then they wanted to guide them to the barricade. Then they wanted to guide them through the barricade. Then they did everything they could to guide them into the Capitol building. Why did they do that? Why didn't Nancy Pelosi stop this from happening? Again, why did she turn down Trump's request to bring in the National Guard? He was trying to help the Capitol Police. By bringing in the National Guard, she shut it down. Why did she do that? Because she had to. Why did Twitter delete his Twitter post that day saying, first, he's telling them to remain peaceful. Then he's telling them to respect law enforcement because the men in blue, they're on our side. Then he's telling them, after shit kind of gets crazy, he's telling them, go home. You do not want to be there for this. Please, go home, remain peaceful. But immediately his tweets are getting deleted. Why? Did they think it was hateful? Did they think it would hurt people? No. They were trying to form a narrative and they needed to blame it on Trump. Why did they make Donald Trump look like the one who was arranging this, who promoted this violence? He was the only one actively trying to prevent this from happening. He was the only one. I know it almost seems absurd to think of that because of what the mainstream media has done to him, the way they've explained this event to you, but it's real. They've been telling you this since the day it happened, but it's 100% false, man. They've been lying to you about the whole thing. So I'm going to break this down to you. I'm going to break this down and let you know why it had to happen exactly the way it did and what the goal was. So again, why did they need this insurrection to happen? Because they needed an emergency to happen that day. We all know there's a legal process, basically legal steps that the Republicans could have taken in order to find out exactly what happened on election night. That is exactly what their plans were at the Capitol on January 6th. Multiple members of Congress were going to take the legal steps necessary to put a motion forward to try and stall certifying the election because a ton of evidence was pointing that there was fraud, that there was a problem here. So at least two members were going to step forward and put a motion forward to at least vote on it. And this, again, now keep in mind, this would have given them legal and constitutional basis for standing, which would have all but certainly made it to the Supreme Court at this point. And again, I know that's a bunch of legal jargon, but it's essentially what has been missing every single time they try to bring anything about the election to the courts. They say you do not have legal standing. And it's because they didn't. They're not taking the proper steps because those steps were taken away from them. They weren't allowed to take those steps because of this day. See, just minutes before the two representatives issued a vote for motions to suspend the certification, House members were informed by Capitol Police and other agents that their so-called mob is about to break through the doors and breach the chambers. So they had to escort Pence, Pelosi, Schumer, McConnell, and some others out of the chambers. This caused an immediate cancellation of events for the moment. It also canceled the ability for them to correctly and effectively challenge the election certification. It stopped them from being able to vote, to even look into the voting irregularities during the election. So these two motions that they were going to set forward absolutely were 100% legal, they were 100% constitutional, but they stopped it from happening. So you're probably thinking, couldn't they have just done it at a later time? No. See, these events had to happen the way that they did so they could remove the process entirely. They removed the record of these people even stepping forward and stating the fact that they wanted to halt this certification. So what I'm trying to say here is, because they had to halt the specific session that would allow them to stop the certification, at least for the time being, when they did meet again later that day, it was under very specific and special circumstances. New rules were then put in place by Pelosi that didn't allow for these people to meet the same way that they did before. It essentially took away their ability to legally and rightfully vote on halting the certification. I don't know the specifics of it. I don't know why that they were able to do that. I just know that by having these events play out the exact way that they did, it took away their ability to be able to step forward and say, we would like to vote on halting the certification of this election. Pelosi knew this was going to change the rules, so that's why it had to happen the exact way that it did. She knew she had to have this state of emergency happen in order to stop these people from doing what they were legally allowed to do. She knew that was the only way they were going to be able to stop people from being able to prove mass election fraud on multiple accounts, probably. See, by law, if those two motions were set forward at all, allowed to be voted on at all, even just one of them, if just one of them were able to be moved forward and they voted on it, even if they voted them down, that would have left the door open for a legal investigation. That would have given them the constitutional standing to have their argument in front of the Supreme Court. Pelosi knew that. Those people, the deep state people in that room that day, knew that. So they needed to be able to shut that session down. And again, let me be clear, the only way they can shut this down, the only way they can stop people from putting forth these motions to halt the election certification, is if the House Speaker, minority leaders, President of Congress, which happens to be Mike Pence at the time, if they are not in those chambers at that moment. And it's obviously extremely rare that all of those people are not in the chamber during that certification. The only way that would ever happen is if there's this insurrection, some sort of state of emergency, or if an all-out war breaks loose, but that would have been way too hard to stage. So they just went with a state of an emergency. And again, why wouldn't they just move forward with these motions later on when they reconvene later that evening? Because Nancy Pelosi initiated new sessions under quote-unquote special emergency rules. So because they had to do it under these special circumstances, she changed the rules when they reconvened later. These rules abandon and make it clear that the only thing they were allowed to do in this new session was expedite the certification. It's just basically saying the only thing we're allowed to do is just certify the election really quick, and it dismisses all prior regular session procedural rules that we were going to have. It doesn't even make any sense. I don't understand why she would do that. Why would she expedite all of that crap? Because she had to. Again, because of what happened earlier in the day, it gave her, I think, this is the only thing I'm uncertain of, that it gave her the legal standing to be able to expedite the certification without the normal process that they go through, which would have allowed these people to step forward and say, hey, we want to vote on this to see if we can pause at least the certification for now until we find out exactly what happened. But no, she expedited it, certified the election. And it's the only way she could have stopped that from happening. It had to happen perfectly, and it did. Again, other than an all-out war, but that would have been way too difficult to try and pull off, man. So because of these special circumstances, Pence had no way to legally pause the certification. In order for him to be able to do this, he needed to have motions of disagreement on the matter, but they were not allowed to do that because the hearing got shut down. They had no chance to. So Pence was actually right when he said he had no constitutional authority to question the certification of the election, even though he didn't want to anyways, because he's definitely deep state. He is part of the problem. But there was a small sliver of truth when he was out there telling you, well, I don't have any constitutional right to do this, because he didn't. Because there had to be those motions put forward first before he could say, okay, we're going to move forward with investigating this. He couldn't, because the process, the normal legal process, wasn't able to unfold the way it's supposed to because of this crisis that happened, because they took all the necessary steps to make sure it didn't happen. That's why every single time they go to the courts now to try and bring this stuff up, the courts aren't telling them, nah, the election was secure, everything worked, everything was good, nothing to see here. That's not what they're saying. No, they're just saying you do not have legal standing to do this. You do not have jurisdiction to do what you're trying to do, because they don't. Because those steps were skipped. Because they had to skip those steps because they knew that was the only way they were going to get away with this. It's fucked, man. It makes me so mad. The only thing I don't know, again, is if Pelosi had the legal right to be able to change the rules, to set up these special rules when they reconvene later that night. Doesn't matter. Regardless, man, this was a deep state coup carried out by Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and many other House members to take away our ability to find out what happened election night. So when you think about January 6th, ignore that stupid, weird, bearded Viking QAnon fool. Ignore the images that the mainstream media has been putting out over the last couple years. They're trying to tell you it was worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than 9/11, the Holocaust, all of that shit put together. Whoops, I just hit the table, my bad. They're trying to tell you it was worse than all of those events put together. Ignore that and think about the events that actually happened and the way that they happened in order for them to destroy our electoral process. Not just then, but for the future, man. This happened again in 2022. This is going to happen again in 2024. I have had my doubts always about elections and how secure they really are, but I guarantee you, I promise you that they will do this again in 2024 and beyond if we do not do something to stop them soon. We've got a year and a half, man. We're going to have to come up with a plan, something that is going to be able to stop this from happening again. There's many more of us than there are of them. We outnumber these people 1,000 to 1. This is a war, and we can win easily if we just do it constitutionally. There are amendments in place that allow us to take these steps properly to stop this shit from happening to us. I'm not asking people to be violent. I don't want you to hurt anybody at all. No. I'm just telling you that you constitutionally have a legal right to stop this from happening. We need to come together. Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. It doesn't matter what political party you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter which one of the two genders you are, because there's only two. This is a fight that you should be in. Even Democrats, man. You don't vote on the Democrat of your choice. You vote on the Democrat that they tell you can vote on. They are always selected for you. It's not your choice, but it should be. And we can get back to that place if we stand together and bring a stop to this evil deep state globalist government system right now. They all have to go. We need to start fresh, clean slate. These deep state fools have infiltrated government in all 50 states, man. It sucks. We need more truth heroes out there. We need more people trying to spread the truth and to wake people up and to lift their spirits, man. It's not as bad as it seems. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But if we stay positive and work together and spread the truth, we can put a stop to this. We can beat the deep state. Absolutely. Man, I think that's all I got. I hope that made sense to you guys. I hope you understand. I got so mixed up and angry that I think I kind of messed it up. But I hope you understand these events that took place and how they had to take place that way in order to stop them from investigating the absolutely fraudulent election. And I hope I did it in a way where you understand and you're able to share that information with other people, and hopefully I didn't confuse the hell out of you, because I do that. I do that sometimes, and I'm sorry for swearing. I probably swore a lot, but I had to. I am angry. This is serious times. All right, guys. That's all I got. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please comment. Please let me know what you think. Please just give me your input. Man, I'm telling you again, it only takes 2 seconds. Go down there and push a button. Say some words. I don't care what it is. Just be honest. All right. For real this time. I ain't kidding. I'm going to go. Thanks again. And until the next time, keep your eyes open, because there's some shit going on. See ya.